get creative, and get planning. Realistic, best guess is you're probably looking at a 20% hit in your individual fundraising. People gave early, they gave a lot. It jury's out whether they're going to give. And the national data interviewing donors from last year say about 20% don't intend to give, but gave in 19. Who knows? But, you know, just be realistic about your projections and your numbers. Don't set up development people to fail. Don't set up yourself to fail. Maybe you'll beat the numbers, and that's fantastic. But over-promising probably is not going to help right now. Communication is everything with your donors. You are not going to retain people. Communicate early, often, video, blurbs, short, sweet pictures, whatever you can do to communicate. It is really important. With donors that are foundations, call and talk to them. Update them monthly on what's going on. Communicate, communicate, and communicate. Creative. So the people that are raising money now have the best stories, have creative videos, have a theme. The virtual stuff, you know, virtual tea parties, virtual bourbon parties, virtual 5Ks, virtual golf tournaments. Yeah, exactly. Kay's going, yeah. Whatever you can think of virtually, go for it. People are bored. Look at your arts community and collaborate. The Center for Puppetry Arts, I was just on the phone with last night. They're collaborating with a number of groups in order to sell in to some corporations to provide stuff for the families of the employees. So look at ways to get really creative, look at partnerships, look at ways you can approach donors, and then you got to get planning. July is when you should be planning for everything you're going to have to do this fall. Now's the time, and I've got a calendar for you I'm going to talk about, where basically every month you've got to train the board. So let me talk peer-to-peer for a second. So peer-to-peer, we've been moving this way. It's really crowdfunding. It's all about technology. And it's all about donors want to give to somebody they know. They don't really want to give to an organization. Yes, you can keep doing your direct mail, but you've also got to have your board members, frankly, asking people, their friends. So the best thing they got is all those contacts in that phone. They've got to ask people to give because they care about the organization and their friends care about them. You've got to build momentum by engaging people over a series of time, reaching out to personal networks, and then asking for money eventually. So think of this as a drum roll with a series of little videos, series of pictures, series of stories, text, email, but Instagram, whatever, depending on your segment of your generation. You've got to have those board members primed, ready to ask for money on your behalf. It's the only thing that's going to work this fall. Peer-to-peer is about every one of us has a network. So these are your board members with their personal network. They create a landing page. That landing page is their personal landing page. They drive their friends to the landing page to donate. And the landing page, while you give them a template, while you organize for it, while you do cut and paste or walk them through it, it's still personalized. So if they're really in going to their kid's baseball game, it's going to show what they're doing and what they love. It's going to show their volunteer activity. You know, if they're a foodie, it's got to reflect their personality. So the friends go, oh, yeah, that's Jason. He's always like that. Then behind that is an organizational platform that's accepting, and that I may be a texter and I'm going to text people to my landing page. I may be an Instagram and I'm going to use that. I may be an emailer, whatever. Your organizational platform has to support multiple media. So you've got to provide people templates. You've got to make it really, really easy for your board members. So, you know, they're just not going to execute, as y'all know, unless you make it turnkey. Templates for email, templates for text, templates for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, pre-made templates. Your platform should have those for you. You've got to have stories. You got to have pictures and stuff off your phone. I am not talking, you know, professional photographer, but real. And obviously stuff that tells the story you want to tell for your organization, and you need one good statistic, not a whole row of them. The more, we're very visual, we're kind of bored with this whole home thing. So the more you can do visually with very short videos, it's the share button. You want the board members' friends to share to someone else, so you're building sort of a ripple effect out there. Eventually, you got to do a hard ask. You got to ask for a dollar amount, and that's going to be uncomfortable for your board members, but they're going to need to do that. And then the soft ask is an ongoing, where you're sharing information and driving them to the landing page, and they can donate or not, but they're getting informed. So, you know, we're in the why behind this. It's very much about we're individualizing. This mass appeals we used to do aren't going to work. We're used to our phones. It's in front of our face. It's very individualized. You're leveraging relationships. People trust their friends, and they have a personal desire to kind of help. It builds credibility of your appeal. It really builds shared values, beliefs among a network of people. The new term is affinity fundraising, and I'm going to start teaching classes on affinity fundraising, which is all about shared values. And then it's the only way to attract new supporters. You know, we can't do events, so no more festivals, no more event where we build our mailing list, we build our email list. So how you're going to build your list is through board, and they don't necessarily want to turn over a list of names anymore. So the fact that you can get them to use their contacts and sell it out directly, that's how you're building your list. So peer-to-peer has three types. There are rolling campaigns that go on all year. Facebook is the best example. You know, all those birthday campaigns? Just remember, Facebook is for women over 55. Everybody else that is on it just to keep up with what their mother's doing. So that's an example. Other people are using occasions to raise money. National Donut Day. There were some fundraisers. National Arbor Day, Earth Day, you know, whatever. Your world, there's a day. So they're picking occasions throughout the world, but they're rolling campaigns. So it's like you pick your Giving Tuesday and you run campaigns, whatever fits your organization. The second are time-based, and that's really Giving Tuesday, Mother's Day, Earth Day, and really Giving Tuesday is a 6-week time frame. The people that raise the most money don't start the day before and quit the day after. It's a 6-week drum roll and they're the ones raising $100,000 of a Giving Tuesday, and we have a bunch of them now. So end of year appeal, which is kind of that Halloween to Christmas. Often some of you have a spring appeal attached to something. Many of us have operated, we do the events, raise some money, send up a follow-up. You know, now you're gonna have to be virtual, so getting creative about this. And then team fundraising. So this is the affinity approach that's gaining a lot of traction, particularly in universities. So Auburn and Georgia Tech finished billion-dollar campaigns. They had 70, 80, 90 affinity groups. That's people that shared interests, come together over the interest, and then agree to raise money for an organization. You're going to put together teams. They're going to pick a theme, set a goal. You're going to use matching gifts. You're going to make it sort of a game-like thing and celebrate it. So it's 3 different types. You cannot do all. Pick what fits your culture, your organization, have a conversation with your board. And we actually have on our website a peer-to-peer 8-minute training that I made for board members. So if you need an outsider to come in, I can't attend every board meeting in the state, but I recorded a video that you can play with the board in order to kickstart a conversation if you're moving to this peer-to-peer. So with that, you know, it's where you're going to start. It's at the board level. Then you're going to get staff probably engaged in it. And where you're really headed eventually is getting volunteer teams, these affinity groups. This is how we're going to grow fundraising over the next 2 years. And again, we're going to do lots of classes on this. We're building our members. We're going to do a breakfast bite, we call it, every Friday. I'm sorry, the first Friday of the month. We're going to have an 8:30 hour-and-a-half meeting on a different kind of fundraising around peer-to-peer. They're free to members. We're going to bring in experts and really try and help everybody learn this fundraising technique, because COVID has just put this on steroids. So to make it work, you got to have a platform. Mighty Cause is the one that GCN invested in. It is free to every nonprofit in Georgia. you get it through georgiagives.org. They make their money off your donor. The donor pays a merchant card fee, like 3%, and they have an option of paying the fee. Or so if they give $100, they can pay $103, or you get $97. It comes out of it. It has every template you want. The other two are Mobile Cause and Classy that you could purchase. It's got your landing pages. It's got templates. It hosts on every single kind of media. You know, what you want to do is drive traffic to those landing pages of your board. You want them doing it, not you. So you just enlarge your development staff from like yourself at midnight to a whole group of board members who are hopefully doing it during 9 to 5. You've got to have content people can share through social media. So those pictures are key, short, like minute, 30-second videos. Turnkey, which I think I've said over and over, really compelling content. And you probably, if depending on what you do, you need a theme. You need a jazzy slogan. You need that short little tagline. And maybe you need several of them through the year if we're going to stay virtual a while. So let me take questions about that. I think I saw some, yeah, get questions?
So Kathy, I want to, this is Kay, I want to just say a couple of things. One is, we didn't ask you at the beginning if we could record this. Is it okay if we record this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good, because we're recording. So thank you for the forgiveness and the grace in that. Also, will you be able to share these slides with us?
Absolutely.
So everybody can stop being so diligent and taking notes, because the information already is so good that I'm sure that everybody's on their 8th page of notes here. So we will share these slides, and that will be great for us. I did see one question, and I think, Rena, you can speak to whether this question has been answered. What platform do you recommend for peer-to-peer fundraising? And I feel like Kathy addressed that since you asked that question. But if not, unmute yourself, Rena, and make sure that you elaborate if you need more information on that.
She answered my question. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. So at this point, Kathy, we don't have any more questions in the chat. Again,
okay, let me just add with the platform. So I love Classy, but Mighty Cause is almost as good. If I was in an advocacy organization, I probably would look at Classy. But Mighty Cause is free to you, whereas you're going to have to buy Classy because of Georgia Gives, and GCN is buying it. And you don't have to be a member. Every nonprofit in the state is welcome to use georgiagives.org. And it's open year round. It's not just Giving Tuesday. The second thing I would stay away from, so Network for Good, so think 2030. The 3 I'm talking about are 30. There are a lot of other ones out there, but they haven't upgraded to do with multiple. So they're really good at email, but they can't handle Instagram and TikTok and Twitter. You need a 30 level if you're going to integrate, because your board members aren't going to want to use all the technology. And depending on their age, frankly, it's very generational. They're going to use different kinds of platforms. And so you want to have a broad array available so they can cherry pick and do what they're comfortable. Again, reduce barriers for your board members. Okay, so I'm going to time. I'm watching. All right, resiliency. So I just don't think this is the time to do strategic planning. I really think we created this, and we're going to do a whole bunch of these. We've got subsidy. There's an application on our website, but it's really about, so RISE stands for Revenue Analysis and Reality, Innovation and Impact, Strategies and Execution. We think people need a roadmap that is built within the 4 phases of recovery. Remember, I talked about kind of being virtual, and then there's the hybrid, then there's post-vaccine, and then there's economic recovery. Those are the 4 phases of recovery. We think you need a platform to stay flexible and make decisions, but you need a platform foundation, key set of concepts in order to manage ongoing uncertainty. We think it's a way to engage the board in some critical discussions. We know a lot of boards are meeting more, are worried, or they've run for the hills and are hiding. So they need to get engaged. And once you figure out strategies that are responding, we have all kinds of tools and templates we've created. We're going to walk through groups in cohorts of 5 groups at a time. We think then realigning staff, board, volunteers, technology, facilities, and then your development plan. Lots of people are like, gee, do I need facilities, or I need better technology, or do I have the right staff because I've had to pivot to this? We just want to make sure in execution that whatever you're doing supports the strategies and gives you flexibility. It's a time to, uh-oh. Hello? Hello?
You're still there, Kathy?
My screen just went dark. My computer. So, I'll keep talking, but it's going to be without my slides, so it's going to be from memory, unless, oh, wait. Well, that's a weird one. My computer just flashed up with telling me to please move away from my computer.
Wow.
That's weird.
Kathy, if it's helpful, you could email your slide deck to me and we could share them.
Yeah, it's, hold on.
Okay.
Let me see if I can get it back. It's adding a bunch of slides. Weird. Well, it's probably tired. All right, so I'm going to speak. So let me talk about hold on, I'm trying to get my slides back. Can you see anything?
Not your share screen. We can
Okay,
see
I'm
you,
trying
but we
again.
can't see your screen.
Yeah. How about that?
It says you're sharing your screen, but oh, there we go.
There we go. Well, so remember on the farm, so I'm one of the lucky people, part of rural America, that has no internet or fiber. I have a satellite, and it isn't the best bandwidth many days. So let me talk about finance. So let me ask about resiliency. I think the key in this, 2 parts of this, is we're all going to have to pivot. We have a tool, and there's tools up on our website, but this revenue analysis, I think really thinking through and doing some scenarios around your revenue projections. I don't think any of us know what to expect. And so that's why doing scenarios will give you, like, you know, you have an 80% chance with this funder, a 60%, a 20% chance. Looking at that, defining the realities of what your organization, depending on your size, your community. Some of you are in communities where you've had very few outbreaks. You're not spiking like other communities. So I think it just has to vary. Look for opportunity to collaborate and innovate. We cannot stay in silos. We're really looking at impact coalitions for the fall. There's not going to be enough money, so we got to do things differently. So this resiliency, there's a lot of stuff on our website about it. I refer to that. Finance, it deleted the slide on finance, so let me talk about finance without a slide, and I'll add it back in. There is actually, I recorded, again, thinking of boards of directors, I recorded a 4-minute video on Cash's Ping. You're welcome to download it. I think now that PPP has been extended, that the cash flow planning, protecting cash, gathering cash, saving cash, whatever you can do from a cash standpoint, I think it's really important to do now. People are in a generous mode. They're giving money. I just don't know what next year brings. I hear a lot from CEOs that I'm sort of figured out this year. I'm kind of good, but next year really worries me. Hoarding cash is a pretty good idea and being fairly conservative for 2 reasons. One of them, because we don't know what's around the corner. We don't know what the funders are doing. The foundations are saying they're going to keep with who they know. They don't want to do new folks. We can't do events. Corporate is pulling back dramatically. We've even had some corporate gifts that we expected payments on in June and July, and they've notified us they've frozen their corporate giving. There'll be none. They're worried about their profits, so they're freezing. Individuals, jury out. So government, that was a wild ride we just had, and they're expecting, you know, if they don't get sales tax in, they're expecting more cuts at the government level. So I think it's a time to hoard cash, to be conservative. The second is you got to worry about liquidity. We have the new rules from FASB, the Financial Standing Accounting Board. You've got to have a balance sheet on whatever the last day of your fiscal year where you show more cash than debt. They will do a liquidity ratio. They're going to divide what it costs per month for you to what your burn rate, they call it, what it costs you per month to operate that. Divide that into your cash and how many days, weeks, months, years do you have operating cash. So I've done a couple projects where I have, for foundation folks I've assembled finance teams and we've reviewed liquidity and created liquidity ratios and days of operation. And, you know, when you have 3, 5, 6 days, anything under a month, the foundation's going to wonder if you're viable. They're going to worry about you. So you need some cash in the checking account, liquid cash, not in capital campaigns, but liquid cash on your balance sheet. Take a monthly operating amount, divide into the cash, and see how many days, weeks, months you've got of operating. The more you have, the more the funders are going to say you're worth an investment. So hoarding cash is going to improve your balance sheet for end of year. So I'll stop with questions.
Kathy, at this
Questions,
point,
anybody?
we don't have anything in the chat. If anyone has a question,
Yeah.
feel free to unmute yourself and ask that question. Anybody have a question at this time?
Or a question about anything related to finance, planning?
I have a quick question. You mentioned that you have a 4-minute video on this particular topic. How do we access it?
It's on GCN.org. I will add it to the PowerPoint where it is. We have created, my favorite thing, so GCN has been debating 3 years about whether we go virtual and what we do virtually. And then COVID comes along in a weekend, literally, no discussion, no debating. We went virtual. And we have a YouTube channel that we've been researching for 3 years, up and running. And so I'll get you the link. I've worked with 3 large accounting firms. I don't know if they're Metro, Maudlin Jenkins, Smith & Howard, and Aprio that work in the nonprofit market. And we have classes there and recordings on liquidity and this whole ratio thing. They put out a workbook. It's on our website. I did the Cash is King recording. There is a template for doing a revenue analysis. I did a class and a recording on that. That's on our website. We've been really trying to push out a number of tools that we use in our consulting practice and making them available. And in the fall, depending on how the world evolves, we'll probably do another month of free consulting where you can get 30 minutes to ask us any question, our consultants. And check out Resiliency. Maybe it fits your organization. We're going to start cohorts on August 6th. We have already 60 groups that have applied, and we've organized to start doing this kind of roadmap for the next 3 years. Other questions? I love questions. If you haven't noticed, I'm a high E, so I really hate being alone in my office day after day.
Kate, you see Davin's comment?
Yeah, so I will read Davin's comment. Kathy, he says, we're doing very well financially after cutting costs and raising good money, but I worry about sharing that because I'm afraid that folks will think we don't need the funding. I agree with you and have been hoarding cash for possible bleak future.
Yeah, I think you have to put in a footnote or an explanation because that you have purposely hoarded cash. You know, you can refer to it as a rainy day fund. You can refer to liquidity. You can talk about anticipation of the unknown future. I think you explained it up front, and I think many funders, even to doing the math and saying you have so many days or months, weeks, you know, if you have 2 years of operating, you're going to have a problem. But if you're talking months of operating or liquidity, then I think you have a story to tell, and you tell that story as part of your fundraising pitch because it's going to make you look stable. So I think we used to be afraid because we used to hear, yeah, you got too much money, I don't need to give you. That's changed from the conversations we've had with all the grant makers. And if you explain it. Any more? I saw some flashing. No?
Yeah, I think one, Aaron just made a comment here from Envision Athens. Using the language of operating reserve emergency fund is more expected now than before COVID. So I think that's a great point, Aaron. Thanks for sharing that.
We suggest that you look at your reserve in 3 buckets. So first is what you can call your working capital reserve. It's your internal line of credit to use. The second is your operating reserve. It's that 3 months or 2 months or whatever you have for that rainy day fund. And the third is risk capital that you're saving to invest in. Maybe you had to pivot to food. Many organizations did. That's risk capital that you can invest in yourself in a pivot, and it's board designated. I think you can talk about your reserve in those 3 buckets. I've done some training on that in the liquidity training that's up on our website. Smith and Howard also talked about those 3 buckets, having that conversation with your board and getting those designations. Again, I think it's about communication and explaining what you're doing. Anything else? Good?
We're good to go.
Well, let's see what the computer does next. I think it's getting tired. So I want also to caution you to remember the people side of this. So 4 parts of this. So first, engaging your board, probably more often. A lot of boards are we're meeting weekly. Now they're often going to bi-weekly is what I'm hearing from a lot of nonprofits. Check-in meetings, short 30-minute, not these 2-hour marathons, virtual, obviously. And, but check-in, think of it as check-in, think of it as engagement, think of it as building your drum roll to keep them informed of what's happening so they can raise money. The more they know, the more they're informed, the better storytellers they'll be for you. Doing virtual check-ins is important. And some boards are having a virtual cocktail hour, social hour. They're doing virtual kind of mini events to get in lieu of just a fast check-in to keep the board engaged. Maybe it's mission moments that you do virtually. Maybe you send them short videos that do your mission moments. Whatever you can do, you need them this fall asking for money, and they're only going to do it if they feel like they're clued in, got information, passionate, that engagement thing we all talk about. The second piece is really pay attention to self-care. I've noticed just in all the people I talk to every week, there have been emotional waves, and I can clearly describe last week and this week as the school emotional wave. The schools are starting to say what they're going to do. They're announcing their plans. Every parent is talking to every other parent and talking to their bosses about what do I do? Do I keep my kids home? Do I send them to school? Is it virtual? What do I do with my kids? And then there becomes the planning. If whatever I decide, I got to negotiate with the school district, then I got to negotiate with my employer. That's the current emotional wave. Even in conversations, I facilitated a group of CEOs, and the meeting started out talking about school options. So, there've been emotional waves of this feels like we were going back to work in April too soon. There's a whole wave about reopening and everybody scrambles. And then it became, wait a minute, let's pay attention. What's the customer, the client really going to do? Are people going to come back? Not so much. Now we're in this spike where we're probably about to have death rates go up, according to the epidemiologists. So pay attention. And we use a lot, and we've done self-care training. Again, there's a workshop on this, but we had some therapists come in. You can Google, there's a great wheel to use with staff, and I use it all the time with my staff. What we can control, which is the inner wheel, and the outer wheel is what we can't control. Put things in those buckets, help staff make decisions, help them respond and figure out and deal with the ongoing emotional waves of whatever the wave of the week, month is. The third piece is staff information. So we've added a bunch of trainings that we've heard from people out in the world. So we're going to do a training around trauma-informed care. People are traumatized, and we feel it's important for your line staff to understand trauma. And there are professionals in this. There's a lot of training. So we've engaged them to do a series of trainings on trauma-informed care from Chris 180. Tenant rights. The lawyers really think that our staff, line staff, don't understand basic tenant rights. We're about to have a huge wave of evictions, depending on court openings and rent payments. For a while, it seemed there was enough money. Now we're going to run out of money. So legal aid, I think it's July 30th, legal aid are going to do a whole training to any staff member that want to sign up on just basic tenant rights. They feel like we line staff aren't telling clients the information they need to protect themselves, so we're going to do tenant rights. The other thing we're doing is access to benefits. We got somebody that has been signing people up for benefits and is an expert, not somebody from the department to tell you how it's supposed to be, but how it really is on access to benefits. Food stamps, TANF, and I hate to even say it, but unemployment. Which is just a royal mess. We have some attorneys engaged to help nonprofits around unemployment access, but it is such a mess. I'm not even sure that's working anymore. So we're adding specific classes to really get your staff more information. We've done a lot of stuff around the virtual workplace. We did stuff on self-care. We'll probably do more self-care coming up as ways, but pay attention to what your staff need to know to, because it's changed. It's different because of this COVID. And then my last piece is looking at the virtual workplace. So things like supervision, and I'm going to use time management as an example. How we supervise employees is very different. I find that I've changed dramatically as a supervisor. I thought I knew everything since I've been supervising so long. But this virtual thing is a different animal. So I have check-in time. I pay attention to emotional waves. I have formal staff meetings, and I have informal check-in, paying attention to what people are doing. And time management, I went through a period where our staff were telling me over and over, I feel so unproductive. I feel like I have not productivity. I'm not accomplishing. I'm overwhelmed. And I found this thing on time management. And so we're living in a world right now in scheduled time. We have lost all organic time. Everything is scheduled. And without organic time, it's actually inefficient. Organic time turns out is very efficient, of the stop by the office, talk over the coffee pot, grab someone for lunch, whatever, informal meetings. Those are all gone and everything is scheduled. Has produced fragmented time. It's that time in between meetings. So, you know, your call ends at 9:50. There you got 10 minutes you just lost. Sure, you can, you know, run grab more beverages or, but the data says we're losing 2 hours a day to fragmented time. That leads to a feeling of lack of productivity. So helping staff schedule differently, understand loss of organic time. The other time, at the height of the shelter in place, and if we go there again, we lost organic time with our friends, and we turned to our colleagues who we had a lot of scheduled time with to look for friends, support organic time. So those things, thinking about fragmented time with your employees, listening to the productivity and teaching them different time management tools. There are virtual tools, you know, whether it can be Slack, it can be, probably not email, Teams, some groups are using, some are using project management stuff like Basecamp, whatever. Technology is your friend here, according to the researchers. So think about your staff, fragmented, organic, scheduled time, and think about how you are different as a supervisor to pay attention to virtual. And then when we come back, and maybe some of you have come back already or never got to leave because of the services you provide, really think about reentry. And there is trauma. What a lot of nonprofits that are in the direct service in my world, now the hot topic, I actually did a conference call yesterday. There was a whole crew from the Center for Puppetry Arts in Atlanta that had to drive to LaGrange to get tested. They all got exposed to COVID. There is no testing anywhere in the metro area for the next 8 days. So they drove to LaGrange, and I'm doing a consulting call as they're driving to LaGrange to get tested. Testing is the hot thing in the metro area for nonprofit employees because there is more exposure than there was a couple months ago. So there's a lot of conversation about that. We're back. We are setting up a PPE buying exchange. We found a vendor. You can buy it through Staples. We'll get a 30% discount. There has to be PPE available, but watch for that to come in the next month. So you'll be able to buy cleaning supplies at a discount. We're trying to we are forming a big group, and we can get a discount, and it'll come right from Staples. You can do your own order. So people, self-care, people. Questions?
Yeah, so we do have a question, Kathy, from Rena Harris. How do you recommend we help lay leaders from the business world, especially those whose businesses have not been affected, understand how running a nonprofit organization has changed so drastically?
I got some of those board members too. God, they live in an ivory tower. You know, what I've tried to do is get my board members whose lives have changed to share from their perspective what board-to-board conversation, what's changed, to open up the conversation. And then I've tried to prepare, we've been doing weekly board meetings. They've just gone to bi-weekly. We've been sharing with them the ups and mostly downs of this pivoting and what it's take to pivot. We've used numbers. I've created a visual reporting sheet with bars and graphs to show changes. So I'm giving them some data. I'm giving them some stories. I was doing it on a consistent basis weekly. I think what I hear from other CEOs around in all my consulting, it is about communication. You got to have some board to board. Hopefully, I mean, maybe you've had some board members laid off. We have, so they were able to talk about that. But we've had board members that have gone out, and we have some that are landlords that have just gone out and said some pretty horrendous things in board meetings in their collection efforts. So I don't know. I think it's a tough one. The more storytelling, short video has worked for us also. But I really believe now in this current environment, I suggested this before, but now I'm recommending, suggesting mission moments and virtual mission moments that you send out probably twice a month. Short video, short snippet. When I was a CEO, I had something called On My Radar that I sent out bullets to the board to keep them informed about what was going on. I would keep using the word pivot, how the organization is pivoting and what you're having to do to pivot. There is, the other thing, McKinsey, the big consulting firm, has really great newsletters, and I've used some of their data to talk about how consumers have permanently changed. So for example, all of us women have stopped buying makeup. Makeup is in the tank. And the data says we're probably never going to buy makeup like we used to. Consumers have fundamentally changed. You know, we're not going to have malls. They're all that. I'd grab some of their data. I've used some of their data to say, look, consumers are changing. That also means our clients are changing. I have stressed to them that this recession, the last recession, was about white-collar workers. This recession is about low-wage workers and the dramatic hit. So tell your story. Keep at it. Don't give up hope. It's hard. It's very frustrating when they get kind of pompous on you.
So Kathy, let me ask
Other?
There are other questions
Yeah.
from anybody? I think Kathy, here's another question maybe. Yes, this is from Leslie Hale. Thanks for the great information. I have a question about fundraising. We have been struggling with how to handle the big mailings we typically do twice a year because they're very labor intensive. Volunteers in our office for 2-hour shifts, holding, stuffing, sticking, etc. How would you recommend we shift to be more efficient and effective with our mailed year-end solicitation this fall? Focus on engaging folks who are lapsed since last year, engage donors who've given 2 consecutive years or more, snail mail only the folks who don't have an email address on file with us.
So people are doing direct mail. Instead of, and I don't know if this will help, what I'm hearing is what people are going to is a postcard mailing and a direct mail letter, not 2 letters. So a shorter version, cheaper version for one of your 2. There was originally concern that it wouldn't work, people wouldn't open it, you know, COVID, but people are doing direct mail. Segment, I would look at my data. I really suggest that you take July and really mine your data, look at data, figure out retention patterns, call off people that haven't given in a while. Retention has been dropping the last 2 years statistically, and they expect a bigger drop this year also. So I think maybe the direct mail, if you can segment your group, there's some that are probably, it's a return on investment that are worth going to. There are others you probably don't, and there's a third bucket that you use email or something else that's cheaper to get to. On the volunteer thing, what I hear groups doing is they're organizing kind of kits and dropping them off at people's homes if we're still social distancing and sheltering in place. They've just gone to alternative ways of organizing. The direct mail piece has to have a visual. It's really important. It has to have a compelling story in it. But return on investment, I think there's an analysis, there's segmentation, and making some decisions about what it's worth doing this year and what you can do using cheaper means, because I'm just not sure your return's going to be there for the investment with 2 mailings.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And pay attention to phones. Yeah, I was going to say, I think I've had this conversation with a lot of people, but remember, even if I get a direct mail piece, 57% are still giving through a credit card on the phone from the direct mail. And I can hold up my phone. Now we have a variety of phones with systems. Your donate button probably was designed to work on one system. It has to work on all systems. So ask your staff, ask the Android person and the Samsung person and the iOS person to test the donate button. Find a bunch of volunteers, ask them to give $1 or 50 cents and test it to see if it works. Because we have found that majority of lost retention and in the data says it's because they couldn't do it easier and it was too many clicks and they gave up. So, and I've tried myself and I've been amazed at some of them that I've tried to give to some agencies and it doesn't work. I'm a phone donator.
And Kathy, I want to add.
That's an issue. Yeah.
Kathy, I was going to add too, one of the other common issues that we have at our foundation is mailing information is not correct on their website or on GuideStar. So check GuideStar profiles, Candid now.
Now, Candid.
Kathy, I have one more
Yeah.
question, and I hate to ask you to do this because I know this is a push, but we have something we need to talk to the group about right quick about continuing calls. So
I'm done.
Susie Weller is asking, I want to ask you to answer this in 1 minute or less if you can. Susie Weller is asking, over the past few months, I have lost 3 board members and 1 more is about to roll off. Any suggestions of finding and onboarding new board members during this time?
LinkedIn.
Okay.
Cruise LinkedIn. That's what everybody's doing that's successful. Use your network. It's hard, but that's what people are, I'm seeing successful is LinkedIn. My short answer.
Okay. Thank you for that short answer, Kathy. I think that our entire group here today of a little over 40 people, I know we appreciate your time. Certainly it was time well spent to have you talk to us. We will share Kathy's slide deck. We did also record this call, and Sarah will have that available. And so I thank you, Kathy, for taking the time on the busy farm and fighting the technology issues to answer questions for
Yeah,
us today.
sorry.
You're all good. Thank you so much. So I'm going to
All
turn
right,
it
thanks. I'm
over.
going to leave. I got a 11 o'clock class to teach. Bye.
Thank you. I want real quick to turn it over to Sarah McKinney and let her talk about the future of our calls.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kay. And I know Kathy's not here anymore, but she is outstanding. And y'all keep your eyes out on the GCN page for those free 30-minute consultations that should pop back up again in the fall. Every single trainer with GCN is outstanding. For those of you who are on the call last Thursday with Greg Pulowski, he's also associated with GCN. You just can't go wrong with those incredible people. A quick update to everybody. We have done lots of questioning here and lots of questioning offline about time and this call. And for the sake of just planning, we are not going to resume this call monthly or weekly for now. The reason for that is we have the nonprofit training series that will kick back off in August. And we've talked to many of you offline, and we know that schedules are just getting packed again. So it's not that we do not have interest in this call as much as we want to see what happens when we just kind of let ourselves get back to normal schedules, resume with the nonprofit training series, and that's brought to you in partnership with the Community Foundation, United Way, ACC Gov, and UGA. I think, and I will have this nailed down by the end of the week, that August 21st will be our next training date. It will be with Heather Leverage of Magnolia Media Group, and it will be focused on storytelling. It'll be the perfect segue from Greg's training last week to Kathy's training today, to storytelling in August, to then kicking us back into what year-end fundraising, communications, etc. looks like for us all. So tentatively mark your calendars for August 21st in the morning, 8:30 with the nonprofit training series. Caveat, if you are just totally disappointed that this call will go away, send us a note and we will rethink. But otherwise, we are very much aware that your schedules are packed to the gills, and we want to do this where it brings value to you. And I think right now we'll take a step back, get us all back out. We know where each other is. Nonprofit training series in August. Tell us if you're completely disappointed, or if you ever learn of something out and about in other communities that you think we should bring to the Athens region, let us know, and we will get right on it. So complaints, comments, the complaint department is 2,000 miles away, but just kidding. You can always complain. You can always compliment. We're ready to listen. I appreciate you all. Kay, is that what you were hoping for?
Sarah, if I could just quickly add that I think our nonprofit leader call started shortly after the larger community check-in that has happened regularly on Wednesdays, and we created this space as kind of a smaller, more intimate gathering for nonprofit leaders. And so that community check-in call where United Way, Community Foundation, Envision Athens, the Chamber, Mayor Gertz, and the school district come together. That is happening again on August 5th. So just to let you know, if you do want to stay connected in that way, there's at least one more opportunity to do so.
Okay, I think that wraps up our call today. Thank you, everybody, for participating. And we know that you found value in the call today. So thank you. And please reach out to any of the three of us if we can help you. Thanks, everybody.
All right, y'all, that went good.
It did. I thought that Kathy did a great job. It's just
She's-
hard to get Kathy to only be in the confines of 1 hour because she has such good info.
She's amazing. She really,
Yeah.
really is. She is so
Yeah.
talented. Thank you so much for bringing her. I'm going to stop the recording.